when the sun goes down and the sky turns to red, safe from the cold in my arms, carried to bed, quiet and warm, snug and dry. Now we lower the lights and together we'll pray and sing into the night. Sweet lullaby of dreams, I will sing you to sleep. Golden sun reaches out, he whispers to me that the moon will rise, she will light up the sky, let her stars be a guide for you, baby, good night. My baby, alamay, masina. My baby, alamay, masina.
We've just had a brilliant get-together of some mums, some dads, grandparents and Pepe talking about sleep and their families and how sleep happens and what's important for them about sleep. So we have some...
No mai, haere mai, ahi ahi marie, good afternoon. Welcome to our live chat, our live kōrero today, talking about moi sleep. This chat follows on from the last one that we did, which was sleep for Pepe aged 0 to 12 months. And this one is for the slightly older Pepe, 12 months and over. So no mai, haere mai, welcome to, and also to Te Reo Māori Language Week. Ka wiki Te Reo Māori. Ko waio, who am I? Ko Katrina Coleman, tōku ingoa, here National Educator, whānau āwhina, tōka tonga mahi. My name's Katrina, I'm an educator for Plunket, and I will be facilitating this chat today with my amazing colleagues who will introduce themselves shortly. Hey, just before we get into our kōrero with you today, I just wanted to remind you that we have a chat facility available. If you have any questions or concerns, if you need some support, if you want to share your story, please pop it up in the chat and we will try and get to that as we go. I also really wanted to acknowledge our colleagues, our friends and our whānau up in Auckland and in all of the areas of the motu who are affected by lockdown in lockdown level 4, please. Let's just all show kindness and grace towards each other as they are working through this really tricky time. And, you know, remember for the rest of us who are outside of that part of the motu that we have this amazing freedom and to not take it for granted and to look after ourselves and our pepe. Hey, I just want to acknowledge HPA for the amazing video that was just shared. I hope that you enjoyed that. We recognize there was younger pepe in the video. I hope that you're not feeling too clucky, or maybe that you are thinking of, keeping ourselves in jobs at whānau āwhina, but we hope that you enjoyed that. And it's just a beautiful example of ori or waiata that you can sing with your pepe or listen to with your pepe to help with the initiation of sleep. So what are we going to cover today in the next half hour or so? We're going to talk about some practical solutions around the initiation and maintaining of sleep for the slightly older age group. but I would like to introduce my colleagues, Anne Hodron and Waikura Kamo. Anne, would you like to kick off?
Kia ora, ko Anne Hodron tōku ingoa. My name is Anne Hodron. I am one of the national educators who works for Whānau Whina Plunket, and welcome everybody. Ori Ori was so beautiful, and it's available in different languages, so we'll give you the link for it. Health Promotion Agency have just released it. So sleep is the one of the biggest worries that we can have as parents. It can bring us the most joy to have a peppy asleep, or it can give us the most concern because we have somebody who doesn't want to sleep and we're all really, really tired. So we hope that we can help you in your journey.
Oh, nā mihi koroa, and tēnā koutou katoa for everyone that's out there. Ko Waikura Kamo tōku ingoa, he National Educator Māori toka tūnā mahi. So I'm Waikura, based in sunny Te Whanganui Tara, here in Wellington, and like Anne said, the lullaby, the ori ori was absolutely beautiful. So kudos to Te Herenga for promoting that, and also in celebration of Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori. So kia ora koutou. I'll pass the mauri back to you, Katrina.
Kia ora Waikura, kia ora Anne. So just before we get into answering some of the questions that are starting to come through, what are the common misconceptions around sleep in the older pepe? Anne?
Oh, I think that you get to one and they're going to sleep, and I think everybody holds out that hope that our tamariki are going to sleep through the night from quite early on, and it can be disappointing if they don't. From when they're really little, but then we have this expectation as they get older that they will sleep through the night. And unfortunately, there are some that are the dream and they do, and there are others that just aren't quite ready for it. They need some help. They're growing, their development changes, they're learning more about the people around them. Things happen, like we've got COVID around at the moment. So, we're worried, so they want to be with us. And the other thing is they get sick. So our little ones get sick, and when they're sick, they don't want to sleep. They want to be with their people. So I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that they will sleep all night. And we're just hoping that during this session we can give you some ideas to manage that for yourselves and to try and help your pepe get as much sleep as possible.
Waikura, we've had a question, or not a question, a comment come through from Andress, I think your name is pronounced. And it says, my 18-month-old has not slept through one night.
And unfortunately, that's really common. And like Anne was saying, for some babies, they can sleep right through, and for others, it's maybe going to take a little bit longer. So in terms of sleep, it's, you're going to be in it for a long while. For some babies, and others it's only short term. But then again, it's about how are you coping with your wee one not sleeping through the night? What does that mean for you? And what supports do you have in place that can support you through that? But be mindful that it won't last. It probably feels like he's been doing it for years. But it is a phase, and it will pass, and you will see that light at the end of the tunnel there.
Yeah, that's really great. And we do have a lot of empathy for those of you who have babies where sleep is just not, it's not a priority for them. They're working on other stuff, and it's interesting being a mum and myself of young tamariki, how much their temperament actually influences their sleep as well. I think we assume that sort of sleep is one of those one-size-fits-all things, that they all need a certain number of hours and they all need to sleep in a certain way. But now that I look back on the sleep of my tamariki, I think, oh yeah, she's such a cruiser. She just loved, rest and sleep, and nothing was going to wake her. And then my busy, active little one, she was a lot more tricky with sleep, and she needed a lot more support from us to initiate, decent sleep. Interest has just carried on and said she's got another comment that says she's still breastfeeding, and she was hoping to slowly get him off because she would love him to not be on it all night.
I mean, that's one of the biggest things is, and we absolutely advocate breastfeeding. For as long as it works for you and for Pepe. And it might be that you still feed him in the night, but he isn't falling asleep on the breast. So I think the most important thing is that breastfeeding is for nutrition and some comfort and cuddles and being with you. And sleep is for sleep. So some babies get that sleep association. And the research has shown that if they've got a sleep association of always falling asleep on the breast, that's where they expect to wake up. So, and those of you who might have watched our session a couple of weeks ago, we talked quite a bit about sleep association with little babies, and it still happens. We're all the same. You know, I've got a sleep association that I have to have my certain pillow in my bed. I sleep on one side. That's how I fall asleep. My lights are off. You know, I have my pattern and my routine. And it's just about Andrew's thinking about how you can gently help him learn that he has breastfeeds for breastfeeds, that's for nutrition and for cuddles and for looking and chatting and that sort of thing, and sleep is for bed. And it might be just about gently every night just taking him off a bit more awake and a bit more awake so that he can look around and go, oh, okay, I'm not on the breast, I might be in my bed. So it might be a case of having the cot right next to your bed so that you can start to gently, as he gets more and more drowsy, as he's drowsy, and then more and more awake, just moving him into the bed after your night feeds. So there's a difficulty. People think, oh, feeding at night means that they're not going to be sleepers, but it's about how long he's up for, how often he's feeding, because you can get into they get into this real pattern that they just love being there, and actually they're having a nice little sup for comfort. And it's not so much that they're getting the beautiful breast milk, they're just there because you know, that's lovely. It's lovely and snuggly and cuddly, and they're with you. So it's a case of, I think, for him, just gently moving it off. And we absolutely feel for you. 18 months of not having a good sleep can be really hard. And our beautiful tamariki wake at the end of a sleep cycle. So they wake when they get into that lighter sleep. They're like, where am I? Was I where I went to sleep? How do I get back there? Oh, I was on the breast. Oh, I'm still there. Yay. Or, oh, I'm in a different place. They put me in my cot when I was really deeply asleep. I think I need to get somewhere else to get me to sleep. So it's about gently teaching them where you want them to wake up is where they go to sleep. Because when we get woken in our deep sleep, we're exhausted. You know, if we get woken in our deep sleep, it's like you feel like you're dragging yourself through the day. So, yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit, before we move on, Waikato, to a little bit about older sleep routine. Just on that note, Anne, I wanted to talk a little bit about neural development or brain development in relation to sleep, in relation to anything. So what happens when you create a sleep association, whether it was purposeful or not, feeding your little Pepe to sleep, and the feed on the breast or in the bottle will equal sleep. There ensues like a neural, like a pathway, right? And it starts out being really little. But the more that you practice that feed to sleep, feed to sleep, feed to sleep, it becomes faster and faster. And it ends up being like a super highway. So, you know, in the night when your Pepe is waking up and you pop him on the breast, he might not even suck before he's asleep because his brain is telling him, I have the milk, I get to sleep. Now, the problem when they get a little bit older, this age, you know, past the age of 1 to 2 years when they start becoming toddlers and you still want to breastfeed, is that they think, well, if I need sleep, then I have to have the breast because that's what comes first. I have the breast and then I sleep. I have the breast and I have the sleep. This pathway is so efficient and so quick and so ingrained that creating a new sleep association is going to be tricky because you have to start again. So whatever the new sleep association will be, whether it's, you know, patting them, if your baby is very used to physical touch, staying with them and keeping your hands on them, patting them and a little bit of massage, that sort of thing to get them off to sleep, and then maybe singing, a bit of ori, whatever it is that you're wanting to replace it with, that's going to be a brand new neural connection in the brain. So it's going to take lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of times of practice for the brain to recognize oh yeah, I can go to sleep by this way too. And I'm safe, and I can do it again and again. And so it will take time, and it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. You know, creating new sleep associations and sleep habits with toddlers is really, really hard work. But it is so worth it. And like Anne said, it's totally fine to feed your puppy to sleep as long as that's working for you. And these are some ideas that you can use when that's not working for you anymore. Why could it? I just wanted to, we've had a couple of comments through about puppy who were sleeping well, and now they've got a little bit older and not sleeping well. What do you think's going on there?
Oh, it could be a number of things, but before I answer that question, I sort of want to go back to Antricia's question about,
Cool.
when you're thinking about sleep, we can't think about it in isolation. So the thing about sleep is if your wee one isn't sleeping at night, waking up for feeds, like Anne touched on it, is it about comfort or is he actually feeding? And if he is actually feeding, what's he doing during the day? Is he sleeping more during the day? Is he feeding less during the day? So we need to have a really good look, have a 24-hour window and have a look, okay, how am I putting my wee one to sleep during the day? Am I feeding him to sleep during the day? It's really hard for us to try and make big changes during the nighttime because we're supposed to be sleeping. And if you want to make those changes, daytime is a really good time to start. So you want to be having a look, okay, let's have a look at the feeds. Is he drinking plenty? Is he eating plenty? Is he sleeping how much? And if he is having really long naps, what does that mean for nighttime? And so we need to really think about what is happening during the day for us to actually try and make some small changes at night. And it might be, right, I'll feed him really well during the day, so at nighttime I should feel comfortable or confident that he's not hungry during night.
Yeah.
And if he is waking up, am I putting him to sleep on the breast during the daytime? What can I do differently then? So it's really thinking about that. So you can't just have sleep in isolation on its own. You have to think about other factors as well. So I just wanted to plug that in.
No, kia ora for that one, Hannah.
And aroha mai ka tūnei ho. I've already forgotten the last two questions.
Yeah, kei te pai. So it was just talking about the topic of sleep, that this session is focusing on that older age group, so sleep for the 1 to 2 year age bracket. Two of the mama in the chat have talked about how their puppy slept better before. They were in good sleep routines and had good positive sleep associations, and now they've sort of got past that 1 year mark. The sleep has unraveled a little bit. Can you tell me, Waikato, why do you think that might be happening, and maybe what these parents could try?
Absolutely. And just to first off to let you know that is really normal because things can change. Your environment can change. You may have moved house. During this COVID, you've had so many maybe extra people at home, and so the environment has changed for them. It could also be developmentally. It could also be they may have been sick or unwell recently. So it's sitting down and thinking about, okay, leading up to the change, was there any changes in your environment? Is there any illnesses that might have happened recently? So to pretty much sum it off, it is really normal. And again, what Katrina said, it is about repetition. Because just because they know how to do it before doesn't always mean that they'll know how to do it after something has changed in their environment. We have to remind them to keep doing it. But have a bigger look at, okay, what's been happening in the household for now? What's been happening for me? What's been happening in my household, especially under COVID? Lots of things can happen, not just physically, but emotionally as well. So far, no stresses at home. So the other things that we need to think about. I hope that's been helpful.
Yeah, that is helpful, Waikato. And I was wondering, how we could link some of this, you know, toddler sleep behavior to the circle of security. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think just before we do that, I think it's really, really important that every baby is different, and every time that something changes, as Waikura said before, it could be that they're ill, that there's something else going on. It's really important for you to think about what other resources can I use, and one of them is our wonderful Plunket line. So please, 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 because they will give you an individual plan. They'll talk through what's your family pattern, what whānau that you've got around. Also, you know, what might have been happening and some ideas to help you. So we're giving you some general ideas, but our beautiful colleagues on Plunket Line are there to make an individual plan for you. So, yeah, I'm thinking for those of you who, and I think I've got a bit of a delay on my screen a wee bit. Oh, looks a bit like that to me. There's a wonderful resources called Circle of Security. Just Google Circle of Security and animations, and you'll come up with these 3 beautiful videos. And one of them talks about the circle, which is about going out to explore. It's based on our normal development and the ideal of attachment. So we go out and explore the world, and then we come back to our people for security, love, nurturing, and when we need our cups filled. So you can think about the same with sleep. So they're learning to go out and explore sleeping on their own. They need us to help them, to watch over them, to be there when they need us. So I think sometimes people will hear lots of different advice, and please, please, please take the advice that works for you, because you'll get everybody's opinion on how to get your baby to sleep, and they don't know you, they don't know your baby. As Katrina said, we've all got different personalities, you know, and what works for one baby doesn't work for another. So your girlfriend going, oh, I tried this, or your auntie going, well, try this, do this. Think about it. Think, is that going to work for us? Do we give it a try? But our babies need us to be there to help them. So it's about, they might like to, as we were talking before, about giving them the opportunity to start to learn to sleep on their own, is having us there with them, patting them. And that beautiful ori ori, for those who were with us right from the beginning, but we'll put a link at the end. We've got these beautiful ori ori that are in several languages. Put it on your phone. Listen to it on your phone. Let your baby listen to it as they're going to sleep. Sing to them. Our babies don't care how bad we are at singing. It helps you to calm, because if we're stressed and distressed when we put a pepe, tamariki into bed, they're going to go, there's something wrong. I need to be with my people, because that's the other part, is about them. We fill their cups, we nurture them, they come close to us. So they need us if they're worried or they're distressed. So, yeah, so I think, you know, it's about giving them the opportunity, being with them, helping them, stroking them, petting them, playing music, doing something that calms you as well as them. And speaking about sleep in a really positive way. Oh, sweetheart, it's time to go to bed now. And then when they wake up, oh, you've had a little sleep, but I can hear that you need to be back with mum. That's okay. We'll try again later. So using really nurturing language when you talk about sleep.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thanks, Anne. And I think what you're talking about us having to calm ourselves to be able to, because babies are so amazingly intuitive, aren't they? Waikura, can you give us some ideas around how we can look after our own selves when we're trying to support our tamariki to sleep?
Yeah, and it's really simple, and the response is really quick as well. And it's simply breathing.
Okay.
Breathing, taking a really mindful breath in, holding it 4 to 6 seconds, and just a slow exhale. As corny as that sounds, it actually does wonders for your physiology. You know, it slows down your heart rate. It actually unclogs all the cloudiness in your mind, and it actually brings you back to mindfulness and being intentional. So that's a really quick way of how can I bring myself to this place right now. And you have to do that frequently through the time that you are settling your wee one to sleep. But if it is a tool that you can do.
Yeah.
But we just have to remind ourselves to do that. And reminding ourselves, being aware of his crying is driving me up the wall. What do I do? What do you do? Do you go, like, for me, when I had my little ones, I'd be so reactive. I'd be like, oh, for goodness sake. And that is just spontaneous reaction.
Yeah.
That's normal reaction. But it takes time to say, okay, I know this crying is driving me nuts, and my tummy's getting really knotted, getting a bit sweaty, I'm feeling a bit stressed. I need to take a breath, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. And that's all it takes, is to bring your body into it, into a place of, right, I can do this, I can keep going. If that doesn't help, ring Plunket line.
Yeah.
Plunket line 0800 933 922. Because sometimes some of our mamas, our papas and our whānau need a little bit of coaching on how to do that. And they can sit on the phone and breathe with you and support you through that phase. So
yeah, that's really great. Thank you. Thank you. And I think that when we're talking about sleep disruption, for lots of different reasons in the older age group, it could be around, like Anne said, illness. If you've been lucky enough to get away on holiday, it could have been staying in a different sleep space. It could have been teething, developmental leaps. So things like learning to stand, learning to walk are really common times where Pepe is going to want to try out those new and exciting skills. And often when there is a big developmental shift, the brain is really busy doing that. And so you might find there's some disruption with sleep. And just to try and maintain the perspective that this change is temporary, and what Anne's talking about with the circle of security. Oh, my baby used to be totally confident to go off on the top half of the circle and settle themselves and get back to sleep and then wake me up when they needed to, and I could fill up their cup. If you use that analogy of cup filling, and we're talking about it like an emotional cup. So if your little person is calling out to you in the night, or they are distressed at bedtime and they don't want to settle on their own or whatever, that's them telling you, I need your help. I need you to help me fill up my cup. My cup is not full, And so being with them in whatever way is comfortable for you both, and practicing some calming sort of sleep association activities together and filling up that cup, they'll go off on the circle and start being able to practice initiating sleep on their own. And we describe that as being like a little circle. And then they might wake up and you need to do it again and fill up their cup again. But over time, that circle will get bigger again, and it will get bigger. And the time in between them calling out to you and needing you to help them fill their cup and initiate sleep, that will extend. So try not to, when the sleep does get disrupted, try not to think, oh, look, that's the end of it. I'm never going to sleep again. Although that is the first thing you think, oh my goodness, all of that hard work getting my Pepe to learn to sleep, and now I'm so tired again. I'm right back in there, and just think, okay, so baby just needs my cup, their cup filled a little bit more at the moment. And then if you do that, if you meet their need, actually over time, they start initiating that beautiful sleep on their own again.
Yeah, Katrina, we had a comment from Bridie who said that her daughter was an amazing sleep and sleeping through. But as soon as she turned 12 months, she's been having broken sleep and also wakes up grumpy most mornings. I'd love you, Bridie, to ring the Plunket line team, because, if she's waking up grumpy, that gives you both a bad start to the day. You want your babies to be waking up joyful, thinking, yay, it's the day, because it makes it hard for you to keep them entertained and to do things with them. And I'm wondering if there's something else that might be going on that might have started for her. The other thing I was thinking about, has there been some changes? Has there been anything, and anything that's changed that's been different that might have started this? But developmentally, as Katrina said, the other thing is at the moment, particularly for all of us with COVID and with the changes that we've all been under, their routines have changed. So what used to be, and I'm not talking about routine if you do this here and this here and this here, but it's what's normal pattern for my day for them. They go, oh, this is my normal pattern. So we get up and then we might have a little bit of breakfast, we might have a breastfeed, or we might have a drink, or we might do something, and then we do this, and then we do this. And this varies, but then when I'm getting ready for my sleeps, this is the normal pattern. So it might be in the evening, we have a bath, we have a book, we have quiet time, or you might have a really busy active house with lots of people and lots of young people around, and they have quite a lot of joy in that time. But then it's sort of like, okay, well, now we're ready for sleep. And it's about deciding about that, because it might be prayers in the evening, it might be that you listen to music. The other thing is for you, if you're having struggles with a little one sleeping at night, is you need to nurture your sleep as well. Yeah. Because we can't manage a tamariki sleep if we're not sleeping well. So it's about, are you getting the sleep that you need? And sometimes when you've had a hard night or something, you just go, tonight I'm just going to stay up a bit longer, because they're often they've gone to sleep, and I'll stay up a bit longer, and you watch the screen and you watch, have your phone out and stuff, and then it takes you longer to settle yourself to sleep. And then you've missed out on precious sleep for you. So when they wake in the night, you don't quite have the same energy to go, okay, well, tonight, this is our plan for tonight. We're going to try something a little bit different to get you back into learning to sleep, learning the pattern that's good for you and good for the family. So please don't, if the sleep isn't a problem for you, don't go changing it. But if it is become a problem, ask for help.
That's awesome. Thanks, Nan.
That's a really good, kia ora, Katrina. That was a really good point, Anne, about having a look at, what is having an impact on your wee one sleeping. And I was just thinking about a 12-month-old becoming a lot more active. And when they're in bed, they move around like anybody's business. And so, you'll find them in the most awkward positions sometimes, if they're sleeping on the cot with their leg in between the bars, and all those kinds of things to consider as well. But in listening to how often are they sleeping? Are they making breathing noises that are quite loud? Are they snoring? So it's all of those things that we really need to think about. And if you ring Plunket line, they will do this like an elimination process and go through all those things. Tell me more about what you've noticed about your baby. So whether it comes to, is he becoming a lot more mobile? Has he been unwell? Is he snoring in his sleep? And all those other things too, which is really important to sort of build a really good picture, and where they can, with you as well, come up with a plan that works for you and your whānau. So that's really helpful. And I just see here Andress is mentioning that your wee one is still in your room, and if you could try and put him into a new room. And if you can, brilliant. But be mindful that if any change with his sleep, it's going to probably take the process just a tad longer. Yeah. Because it's a new room, new environment. So be mindful of that. That, is it the room change, or what is it? Do I add something else to his unsettled sleep, or whatever? So it's really coming up, okay, what's going to work and what's the plan, and who are my support people?
So can I just interrupt for 1 second, Katrina, before you carry on? Waikaru mentioned snoring. Our babies shouldn't snore. Our tamariki shouldn't snore. You might go, oh, but Dad snores. That means that quite often you really need to go and see a doctor if you've got a little one that's snoring. Like sometimes they snore a little bit with a cold as they get a bit older, but really if they're well, they shouldn't be snoring in their sleep. So you need to just get them checked out by the doctor and mention it. And sometimes what we do is get parents to film it on their phone. To play back to the doctor because they're not going to be able to see you. And I think just one other point from what Waikura was saying was that safety. You know, you think you've got them through that first year and the SUDI risks, but we have little ones who get caught in blind cords. We've had babies who've died strangling themselves on blind cords, suffocating in their beds over one. So please look around the environment because they're going to get more busy. They're standing up in their cots. They're reaching out to things. You know, the cords behind, if you've got blinds and things like that, the cords behind, they're very adventurous when they're awake and they'll have a look and fiddle and touch anything. So please make sure that their cots are safe. Yeah,
just one thing around safety. I'll never forget one of my best girlfriends, she had an angel mat underneath on the mattress, which, you know, detects breathing and for sleep apnea. And her almost 2-year-old was very into necklaces. And thank gosh, it was a day sleep. One day she went into the room and the toddler had wrapped the cord of the angel mat around her neck like a necklace. And as soon as she saw it, she knew what the toddler had been thinking. But it was such a thoughtful reminder about, my gosh, even though they're older, they have different intentions for why they do things, but they are still incredibly risky for self-strangulation particularly. So things like necklaces, scarves, you know, what are they sleeping in? Has it got, you know, like plenty of room around the neck that nothing is going to obstruct their breathing while they're sleeping? You know, making sure there's nothing in their cot that they could choke on or put in their mouth while they're sleeping. Be really thoughtful about toys and things like that that are in the cot. Really, the safest thing is to have it, you know, totally flat with nothing in the cot at all. Perhaps one security safety toy or blanket that, you know, there's no risk of strangulation, but this is a very real risk and we have to be really mindful about the safety of our tamariki. What you will have seen coming up along the bottom of our chat is some information about the Plunket website. If you have any questions or concerns around safety, and there's lots of information around sleep as well, pop onto the Plunket website and have a look. It will also cue you about some of the developmental changes that happen over this time that could be influencing your tamariki sleep. So does anyone have any final comments? Anything that anyone like to add before we wrap up?
Just a quick comment from Shannon about circular security courses. If you go onto the circular security website, they'll show different countries of the world, and then on those they'll show where different courses are being run. So have a look at the map there. Different providers around the country offer them. So yeah, please have a look at those. And please, all we can say is if you have worries about sleep, ring up, ask Plunket Line, talk to somebody, talk to your friends, talk to your family, nurture yourselves, look after yourselves, and please ask for help if you need it.
Awesome. Waikura?
Oh, pick up the wire, call Plunket Line 0800 933 922. Have a kōrero with them, and you can tailor your plan, sleep plan, just for your whānau, and talk to our nurses. They're there 24/7, so you won't wake them up or anything. So they'll be there ready in anticipation for your phone calls. So, yeah, just a reminder that sleep is really important. It's really important for our health. Yeah. So it is. It isn't something that you can have in isolation. You have to think about everything else that can have an impact on sleep for yourself and for your whānau, but also for your pepe as well. So kia ora.
Yeah. And remembering this energy and effort that we as parents invest into the sleep of our tamariki, this is instilling lifelong good health and habit around sleep. for their future. So it is so worth the investment, even though it feels like a huge investment at the time. Hey, I just wanted to, again, acknowledge the beautiful oriori we had at the beginning of our session, the waiata. This was put out by Te Hiriringa Hauora, the Health Promotion Agency, and they have put this beautiful oriori out as part of their Kia o Tō Moi campaign, talking about how we can be better promoting the sleep of tamariki in Aotearoa. It is available in Te Reo Māori, in Tongan and Samoan. So we will put the link up there so that you can access this beautiful resource that you can share and promote positive sleep associations for your tamariki.
And Katrina, there's also a little video that they provide a link to as well that has a wonderful woman called Bronwyn Sweeney who talks with the parents, and you hear some of the parents' stories about sleep as well. So there's a beautiful video as well that goes with that.
Wonderful. So get into that, have a look. All the best to you as parents, as caregivers who are supporting our tamariki sleep, because it is not easy, but you are doing amazing mahi. And like I said, these are lifelong, lessons that we are ingraining in our little people. So well done. And we will see you again soon for another topic about this amazing journey that we are on as parents. So ka kite.
Ka pai tō wiki.